Well, good day, everybody. Here is the story of Bekka. Now, on about the 10th of December, I was moving from one location in Ehrenberg to a new location in Quartzsite, and I was supposed to find a good spot for a few of my friends as well who wanted to join me a little bit later on. So I picked the Plomosa Road BLM area. I registered with the host, found an area that was big enough to accommodate a few people, and started setting up. Now, I'm not 100% sure if that's when I noticed Bekka the first time. However, when Short Round, or that's her nickname, showed up with her dog, and I was helping her set up, I know for sure that we both saw Bekka in the bushes, at a good distance, I would say 200-300 yards. And at that point, we just thought it was a dog that somebody let their dog loose, and he was just hanging around, just looking at her dog, which is Kaya, and just was curious. So we left it at that, and nothing came of it. And that was on the 12th of December. So by the 14th, this dog, black and white dog with a red collar, had come closer to our camp, but this time on the other side of the way we were set up. So we threw a few hot dogs and a little bit of bologna and set out some water and then some dog food, and eventually she became a little bit more friendly, so much so that I was able to put a carabiner with a rope on her, but I left the spool of rope loose so that if she ran off or something, the spool would unroll and we could catch up to her eventually, I suspect. But that wasn't necessary, because once she ate and drank and felt safe with us, then she pretty much just laid down in the sun and fell asleep, which was really hard to believe, because just a matter of hours before, she would not even let us approach her any closer than 20-30 feet. So that was on the 14th. So we fed her a little bit, she slept, and then we wanted to go do some rock hounding, which is basically just go and look for rocks in the wash, just to see what we could find. So I tied her up to the RV, because I didn't know how she would react to being on a leash or anything. So that was a stupid move on my part, looking back. But when we came back after about 2 hours, she had chewed her rope off. So the neighbor, an older gentleman that was 200-300 yards away, came over and said she had been yelping for a good hour or two, and then took off in the direction that we had taken off to go rock hounding. So I felt really bad, because maybe she's looking for us. And so anyways, we ended up I ended up taking my bike off the RV, and I pedaled my way a mile up and a mile down the road, in both directions, obviously, asking everybody that I could if they'd lost a dog or if they've seen a dog. And nobody had any positive responses or anything, but they knew that I was looking, and they would be happy to keep an eye out. So on the way out on the 16th, which is now 2 days, I spent 2 days looking for her. On the 16th, I had to pack up, because my girlfriend Michelle was coming in to Phoenix, and I had to go pick her up. So I packed everything up, but I drove up and down the road again with my RV, and just to see if anybody had seen her. And on the way out, I left a note with the camp host, with my phone number and everything, and the details of the description of the dog, in case somebody brought her back. So that's how that ended, and I ended up going to Phoenix, pick up Michelle. We stopped at a few scenic places on the way back, and when we got back to Plomosa, I'd already called Parker animal shelter and gave them my number, but I hadn't heard any news from them. Same thing with the police station in Quartzsite, but nobody was getting back to me. So as I'm driving down Plumosa Road to bring Michelle to see Short Round and our spot and everything, it occurred to me that maybe I should call them one last time before I camp and set up and get everything installed. So I called Parker, and they said, well, we've been trying to get a hold of you because you got a Canadian number and we can't call you. So the police station in Quartzsite has a dog that matches the description. Give them a call. So I did, and sure enough, they had a puppy that matches the description of Bekka. So I told Michelle what was going on because I hadn't really told her very much about it. I didn't want to tell her, oh, look, I decided to adopt a dog, or a dog found me, and I guess I'm going to adopt it without having the dog. So once I'd made those phone calls and confirmed, her reaction was quite good. She said, yay, you're getting a dog, it'll be good company, and so on and so forth. So without even going to the police station, we ended up going to the dollar store and buying like bed, food, cans, leashes, ropes, toys. So we got all that stuff, and then we went to the police station, and in fact it was her. So she was crying for us. She was quite happy to see us. And so we took her into the RV, and we drove back to Plumosa Road, and we introduced her to the people that were there, some carpentry friends of mine, and Short Round. And that's pretty much how it stayed for a while. It's noteworthy to mention that the next night, on the 17th, we had a coyote come around our RV, I would say around 30 feet, and he was yelping. And then on the 18th, again that happened, and this time a little later on, about an hour later, after the one left, we heard several of them yelping in the distance. So I suspect that they probably tracked Bekka down by her smell and by the traces that she was leaving, and so she was either going to become coyote food, or she was going to become part of the pack. So anyways, we decided to keep her, or I decided to keep her, and she was really well behaved. The first night she needed to go to the washroom, and she sat in front of the door and gave us the one bark notice that she needed to go out. So I thought that was really good. She knows how to sit a little bit. She knows come, she knows no. So she had some kind of family training. It's still a mystery why she had her red collar on the whole time. So, and she still does to this day. Now, it's a little strange that you would drop off a dog. Apparently, it's quite common for people who adopt a pet in the spring, can't afford the medical bills that come along with that. Come 2 weeks before Christmas, they just leave the dog in an RV area, and they figure somebody will take her, which is what the police said. Apparently, there was a nice couple that brought her in and said that if she was going to be sent to Parker Animal Shelter, that they would adopt her. So, things were looking up for her, and we decided to keep her. On the 20th, we took her to Phoenix with us because Michelle had rented an Airbnb, expecting her daughters and mom to come for a visit, which they did, of course. So Bekka was quite happy to be in there and walking around, a new place to smell, right? And on the 20th, I took her to the vet in Phoenix to get initial shots, distemper and stuff like that. And they gave us some meds for worms and the general stuff. But then there was some debate as to how old she is. We all kind of concluded that she was about 8 months old, and we wrote her birthday down as being the 30th of May because mine's on the 29th, Michelle's on the 28th, and my sister, who is a breeder of dogs, is on the 31st. So it just kind of makes sense to have all the birthdays at the same time, and it did match the timeline, so that's what we decided to go with. But the vet was wanting to wait for her to have her first, time of the month before operating her to get her spayed. And I'd been around dogs a long time, and I didn't really feel that was the right thing to do. The concern was that we'd be operating on her for no reason because she'd already been spayed as a pup, and there just was no scar because it had grown over or because it had been done, really well at a 6 week old, kind of thing. So I had time to think about it, and by the time Michelle left on the 27th, 28th, I decided that I wasn't going to wait that long, and I got her spayed on the 29th of December. So she came with a cone of shame, which I didn't really need to use after all, because although she licks that area or bites it, I would keep an eye on her, and she wasn't trying to get at her sutures. So I watched her fairly carefully, and the cone of shame was just a little difficult for her in the RV. There's just too many things to bump into, and you can't climb up and down the stairs, and so it just created more havoc than anything else. And keeping an eye on her seemed to be okay, and so she's healed quite nicely. The deworming stuff has gone through her system. The meds have gone through her system, and she seems to be quite a happy puppy now. So she's got a ball, she's got some toys, she got a piece of wood that she chews on, and we go for walks, we go look for rocks, and she's quite happy to smell every single bush. She's, matter of fact, scared off a few deer, a couple of jackrabbits, and a couple of chipmunks. So she's got a good sniffer, and she just seems to like to bark at everything because she wants to play with them. She's a bit of a digger as well, so got to keep an eye on her for that. But other than that, she seems to be a happy-go-lucky puppy, mixed collie and husky. So I hope you enjoyed the story. I'm sorry I am a bit of a monotone today, but that's the long story. So hope you've enjoyed. I hope you guys have a great day, and if you want to adopt a pet, always contact your local rescue department, and I would say department office, I guess, or SPCA in Canada. So it's always better to adopt a dog and give him a second chance than it is to have him sit in an animal shelter in a cage waiting to be euthanized. So enjoy your day. Hopefully you don't have too much shoveling to do, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers. Bye-bye.